But first, let's talk about, again, what's happening in Canberra right now. Now, still waiting for a final vote on the censoring of the internet. This is about the government shutting down your capacity to post what you want to on your social media feeds. Oh, they say it's all about mis and disinformation, but you know the reality of what they're trying to shut off here. Now, the Senate will vote on that. No plan today. They come back next week. Presumably this thing will get killed off next week. Or if they're stupid enough, they will keep the door open, and an active part of the campaign leading into the next federal election will be that the Labor Party and the Greens want to censor the internet and everyone else doesn't. That'll be a major issue. It's up to Labor whether they kill it off or whether they bring it to the heart of our election, which will be a very bad news story for them. But today, the Prime Minister trying to distract from what is going to be this inevitable defeat of his attempt to censor adults on the internet, and we're turning towards trying to keep kids away from social media. Now, I've said for years that social media is poison. It is poison for way too many adults, and that poison should not be extended to children. Apart from what they see, the capacity for bullies to message you in the middle of the night, for people to gang up on you in a digital way, means that the problems that you and I felt when we went to school, well, they extend home, and it means there's a 24/7 cycle of, among other things, that is bullying. Now, today, the federal government introduced its laws to ban people under the age of 16 being able to have accounts on all of the obvious social media sites. Here's the Prime Minister saying why it's good.
As a government, we have a responsibility to keep our young Australians safe. We know that social media is causing social harm.
There was also some confusion about whether people under the age of 16 will be able to access YouTube. They will, because YouTube is not going to be included in this. Now, it wasn't just about access to YouTube. It was about whether your kid can have a YouTube account. To be honest, I have no idea why anyone under the age of 16, their parent would allow them to have it, but that is not going to be affected by the ban. Elon Musk taking time out from slashing things in the American budget, launching rockets, creating electric cars that lefties are now oh so happy that they drive around the cities. He responded to the Prime Minister today that it seems like a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. So obviously he doesn't want this thing to take place. Now, regardless of whether you think this is a great idea, a maybe idea or a bad idea, process matters. When we are talking about something as big and as serious with all of its potential intended and unintended consequences, the way that generally the process works is because the government doesn't have a majority in the Senate. Now, they generally do once they get the Greens and the lefties on the crossbench, but they don't have the outright numbers, which means that any piece of legislation as controversial as this is normally sent off to a committee. Now, I want you to have a listen to Channel 9 and how they're going to explain how the next part of this process works. Put simply, the government would like sooner rather than later to pass this legislation before Parliament ends next week, because there's every chance Parliament won't come back at all. A perfect example, and Bronwyn Bishop mentioned this last night, about why the government might tell us they want to have a budget and tell us they want to have an election in May, is that politicians who aren't going to be coming back after the next election, people like Bill Shorten, are giving their farewell speeches now. Now, he's supposed to be doing that in February. Parliament could be back in February, unless, of course, there's a plan for no Parliament to come back in February, which is why he gave his farewell address today, even though next week Parliament still continues.